The card I'm going to show you today is a fun fall card using the new stamp set that we have, Wonderfall, from the holiday catalog. And I'm also going to use two other products on this same page. The Bigz die called Autumn Accents. You'll notice that on the pictures here, there's this red line around the stamped image, and that shows you where the die will cut out that particular image. So each of the 5 are on that die, and I can cut them all out, and it just gives that little bit of a border around each one. The other product I'm using is the Woodgrain embossing folder, and that just gives the grain texture there like wood. This is the finished product. I just want to give you a quick peek, and then I'll show you how to make each part. The first thing I'm going to do is grab my Big Shot, and on my die here, I'm going to lay the cardstock over each leaf. So all 5 of them are on here. I'm going to lay the mustard here, and then some Cajun Craze and soft suede. And then I'll just set the cutting pad on top. Let's get that up. Oops. Just a little bit. Set the cutting pad on top. And then I can crank them all at the same time. So even though I'm using different colors, I can put that cardstock all on there together. And actually, if I was doing many of these cards, I could put, gosh, at least 4 or 5 pieces of cardstock stacked up so that it would cut 5 or, of each of these at the same time. So I could cut like 15 at the same time. So this just pops right out. And I have my 2 leaves and the little acorn. So I will set those aside. And then the next part that I'm going to do is the embossing. So I'm going to pull this over here, open up the 2 tabs, set the cutting pad down, and this is a piece of very vanilla cardstock with the Woodgrain embossing folder. So get that in there, cutting pad on top, and crank that through. Then I'll just move this out of the way. So when I open my folder, I've got that awesome texture on there. Okay, so I've had people ask, how do you get these stamped images on the leaf? Because I can stamp this, but then I can't line it up on this die. It's not like one of our framelits where you stamp it and then line it up and cut it out. So how do I know how to stamp it so that it lines up perfectly on here? And this is a time, you'll always hear me say stamp and then punch out. But for this, you're actually punching the images or cutting the images first, and then we're going to stamp. So what I'm doing for each of these 3 leaves is using our Versamark ink to do like a watermark. And I'm going to put the ink on this leaf first, and then I'm going to set this right on top of here. So we'll just set it on here, line it up, and then I'm just going to push down into it like that, and now that stamped image is going to be right on there. So same thing with each of them. We'll just go through and do all 3. This is the cute little acorn, and I'll set that right on top. And you'll notice mine aren't lined up perfectly, but it's not something, that jumps out at you that it's not. So there's little acorn, and then the oak leaf. And the texture of the oak leaf is kind of neat too because it has that same wood grain, so it really ties in well with the embossing folder that I'm using. Like that. Okay, so the base of my card today is soft suede. This is 5.5 by 8.5. I'm using my bone folder to get a good crisp fold. And then I will use this piece here I want to attach. I'm going to use some soft suede ribbon, and the way I kind of measured, I'm just going to tie a knot, not a bow. So what I'll do is just wrap it around and then extend it a little bit on each end and cut like that, and just pull it back down. I want my knot to be over here on the left. So I do this, the right side up over the left. And then when I pull it tight. You can notice that it's kind of curling up a little bit, but I want to pull it really tight and perpendicular so the lines here are perpendicular. I don't want it like that, like you would tie your shoe. So I put it like this, put my finger on there, and then I bring the bottom one up and around, and as I'm pulling this tight, this will just kind of flatten out naturally on its own. So I have that, straighten it out a little bit. And then I need to put some adhesive on the back of this. And normally I just do adhesive in the corners, but when something is all embossed like this, I put more on because there's just less surface area to catch the adhesive, and I want to make sure it sticks well. So I use a little more than normal when I have an embossed layer. So this piece just goes on like this. I'm going to trim these while I'm thinking of it. These are great scissors for ribbon, fabric, anything like that. They go through it really easily. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is take some adhesive on this leaf, and I'm going to place that just right back in here. And then I'll do the Cajun Craze leaf and overlap that a little bit up here. And then I'm going to have the acorn stick out from the bottom. And just put them up in here that way. Move that a little there. And then my greeting, I'm using a thank you from a new set, Sassy Salutations, I think, and soft suede ink. This is one of our new ink pads, so as I've been telling you, you just need to tap it really gently and then straight down and up on your cardstock. This little piece of vanilla is 2 1/8 by 1 inch. And I'll take some dimensionals, put one on each end here, and then you can use your fingernail and kind of put a crease in it, and that helps peel it off if you have a hard time just getting it to come off. When you just use your fingernail, either way is fine. And then I'll just set this right over that like that. So it's a nice fall card. It definitely gives you some texture, the impressions here on the stamps themselves, but especially the wood grain embossing folder. Thanks so much for watching my video. For daily creative inspiration, visit my blog or find me on Facebook at Jody Reinert Stamps.